Good afternoon and welcome to your weekly current affairs program. My name is Egosa Agbonlao. Every week we bring you topical issues that we analyze in the interests of the development of Nigeria. But there is a scenario in Nigeria which has refused to rest, and that is the 2023 general election. It's been conducted, though we have some supplementary elections that will be held on the 15th of April 2023, according to INEC. But certificates of return have been presented to some governors-elect, to members-elect of the House of Assembly, talking about the governorship and state assembly elections. You will recall that that of the presidential has been done, and a lot has continued to be discussed as regards the election. So today, we're looking at 2023 general elections, the best way forward. And I have very distinguished personalities with me today. I have Andrew Eigalua, AFP, Ambassador for Peace. And of course, he's the President, United in Democracy, a group that advocates for good governance, political strategists, and analysts. Nice to have you with us today.
Thank you, Egosa, for having me.
Okay.
Good afternoon, viewers.
We also have with us a regular face on the program. Is a legal luminary, a professor of law, Job Odion. Nice to have you with us today.
Good afternoon, Egosa, and good afternoon, our viewers.
Okay. We also have with us a very seasoned political analyst, Omowogbe Ayenwafo. Nice to have you with us today.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good afternoon, viewers.
My guests are ready to dissect the topic for today, but I'm just giving you the background. As I speak, a lot is happening around the country as regards the conduct of the 2023 general election. Some Nigerians have been protesting, especially from the opposition parties, protesting against the outcome of the presidential elections in Abuja. And the presidency has also issued a threat to such protesters to desist from the protest, because according to the presidency, there are consequences for such protests. The protesters are calling for, in short, I'm scared to use the word. Well, but the summation of the protest is that they do not want the inauguration to be held. And the DSS has issued a statement that the agency is aware of the plot of some persons to scuttle the planned inauguration of the President-elect Ahmed Bola Tinubu and the plan for an interim government. So all of these will be part of our discussion on the program 60 Minutes Nigeria, this week's edition. We'll get started with Professor Job Odion, because this is very important. We know that the elections have been conducted, certificates of return being issued. Tomorrow, Friday, in Edo State, certificate of returns will be issued to members-elect Edo State House of Assembly, because only State House of Assembly election was conducted on the 18th of March. But this issue of call for interim government, call to stop the inauguration, what does it portend? What's the legal implication? Professor Job Odion.
Okay, thank you, Egosa. It's a very puzzling question, really,
yes,
for me to answer, because first and foremost, it's an issue that ought not to crop up in the first place.
Okay.
Like you rightly observed, it's coming out of nowhere. And it tells you the level of mischief that we have around the polity and the country. You recall that this issue of interim government in quotes came up for the first time when our revered past president, Olusegun Obasanjo, made that his famous or infamous intervention in the course of the election, when the results were just announced and when there was this protest by the other parties that there was a lot of irregularities or malpractices that surrounded the election. And he came, read out his long letter or epistle, as he called it, asking that INEC should halt the declaration and return, and that they should arrange for a fresh election, and in the interim they can arrange a contraption of interim government or a pseudo government to hold forth until the issues surrounding the elections are resolved. And of course, well, many Nigerians came out hard on him, especially considering his pedigree as the former head of state and later on the president. Of course, knowing his attitude as somebody who chaperoned a third-term ambition, a plot that failed ultimately, so beginning to question his democratic credentials. So that started hovering over the horizon. But bearing in mind that we had that incident in 1994 after the June 12th crisis or inbreak.
Yes.
And of course, we also know that even as at that 1994, even within a military regime, you know, for scholars who know that military regimes are not democratic in nature, and they don't go by the constitution, and they rule by decrees, which are not really irregular laws in a real sense of it. But even within a military decree in place, and with then General Sani Abacha, the almighty Abacha, the High Court in Lagos, you know, headed by then Obi-Wan is still alive, legendary Dalakwa Kinshoya. Remember her name, because I was teaching that class, a very young lecturer in Boma then. Dalakwa pronounced that the interim government is illegal. Within a military contraption, an aberration, as we call it then, was illegal. And it was that High Court judgment that, I'm sorry to say that Abacha lashed on. Sorry, Abacha was not in government then. It was Shonekun that was the interim government chairman. That was what Abacha lashed in on as an excuse for his coup, his palace coup, which he eased out.
Ernest Shonekun.
And then came on board then. So you could imagine a military regime taking over from an interim government. So interim government within a democratic setting is illegal. It is unknown to law. It's an aberration. It's a nullity ab initio. Most importantly, we've had a seamless 24 years, or we should be having 24-year seamless democratic run, the longest we've ever had in the country since our independence in 1960. We've never had it this long. Maybe some persons are tired of it somewhere. Maybe those who are tired of the bad governance or the policies. Those who are just sore losers who have gone into a contest and cannot bear the pain of losing and cannot even wait for the judicial process, the legal process to unravel and resolve some of the issues. So they can come up with such a crazy ideas. I call it crazy ideas by all definition. But in the real sense of it, looking at it legally and constitutionally, no other means, there's no other means, no other procedure you can attain the seat of power in Nigeria. As even the local government chairman, the lowest rung, without following the electoral process and the constitutional process. Section 1 sub 2 of the Constitution. I don't like constitution when I come for this kind of liberal program, but Section 1, 2, which I'm sure every student, even in government, can quote my daughter in the DSS 3, I'm sure something with that. Yes, true. The basic government knows that any other means, any other government that proceeds or results from any other means beyond an electoral process is a coup d'etat in quotes. It's a coup d'etat in quotes. And therefore it is an aberration, an illegality. The only way we can ascend power in Nigeria as the local government, as a councillor, is through an electoral process. Not by appointment, not by an interim government, even if it's done by way of consensus, by no what that means. It's constitutional. So any government that comes through that process is illegal. So the idea is it's a non-starter really, and it amounts to a coup d'etat. So for me, I'm even surprised the DSS and others are using that. They're not interim government. They should just say there's a planned coup. There's a planned coup to either scuttle, maybe cut short this government before May 29, or prevent democracy from continuing by May 29. Because whoever you put there, whether by whatever means, whether it's wearing agbada, wearing khaki, or wearing boxers or whatever, with all due respect, that person is a coupist. Because they want to declare, and anybody that does that has committed treason. Any attempt, whether it is by biro, by contract, even if many members of the House of National Assembly they sign or pass a law, as it were, to usher in interim government, that amounts to a coup. Because the National Assembly, the laws of Parliament, Act of Parliament are inferior to the Constitution. It's a coup. Even if Buhari himself tomorrow agrees to sign any law or executive order allowing for interim, it amounts to a coup. Even the man who is president-elect tomorrow, even if he starts to abdicate his position, okay, I want to hand over today, it's also a coup. Because that is what the Constitution says. and it is treasonable and punishable by death.
Thank you very much. Let's just get the thought of Iwafo. I can see you are itching and you have a lot to really comment on this. Let's just get started with that, especially with the call of the protesters asking for this, for inauguration of the president-elect not to be done, not to be carried out.
First and foremost, I would say most people that are involved in this treasonable act, as our brother has said earlier, I think they were not born when something like this came up in 1993. I was outside the country that time, but I was following up. I remember when the election was being announced by the INEC chairman then, and there were some military men of high hierarchy pressurizing then president of the country, Ibrahim Babangida, to stop the election, which he did. And because of the kind of outcry, public outcry and all that, he could not stay as much as he wanted. So he had to inaugurate an interim government as at that time. And I think before that inauguration of Shonekan as the head of the interim government, we already had state houses of assembly, governors were already in place. It was the presidency that was really in controversy. I think that time we had John Oyegu here as our governor.
Okay.
It was already serving. In fact, even in the Senate, House of Rep, all of that went well. It was that presidential election that was really under contention as at that time. But history will remind us how Shonekan was disgraced out of office. We remember that time, it was in the morning. Abacha came into office and just asked Shonekan to enter the vehicle and just leave without ceremony, just like that. It goes a long way to kind of complement what my brother earlier said, that it's a form of illegality. It's illegal. It is not in law. And this issue of some set of people, whether in Abuja or Lagos or even in Benin, agitating for the halt of the inauguration and the protests of saying one particular person won, one particular person didn't win, and it was given the mandate and all that. I think the law enforcement agent, because it was in the news yesterday that the DSS already got the tip that there is a plan to hold the inauguration or to go to, they are planning to go to court to hold the inauguration, and a lot of, some of them too are wanting to go on protest. However, my take is that the DSS are supposed to do the needful. They are not even supposed to even say it out. It is in law, it is in their act. It's just an issue of one of my sons is not being loyal to me, wants to come and steal my property in the house. Do I have to come to ITV to say it? First of all, I will stop his school fees and impose my authority on him. So the DSS are not supposed to even go to the media to say they've discovered plot. If they discover, that's why they are there. State Security Service. It's one of their mandates. So I think people who are involved in this act should be severely dealt with, because we are not in a banana republic. Election has been held. Definitely, like I always say, an election is like a football contest. You are going to any competition, even if you know you have a very good team, you are not very sure that you are coming home with the trophy. We've seen where Brazil will parade the best names in football, but getting to the World Cup, they go home even disgracefully. There is a process in place to electing leaders, which is an election. It's a universal, worldwide concept. That is the process, the acceptable one as we speak. Election has been held. Agreed, there were anomalies. No, there's nowhere anywhere in the world you say an election is perfect. But there's also a provision as prescribed by law whenever you are not satisfied where you should go. And they've told that line, I mean the losers, okay. I mean the PDP and some other parties, they've told that line. While leaving the legal process or you are in court over a particular thing, you are still on the street on the same issue. It boils down to the fact that they just feel that this country is a banana republic. We are not in a banana republic. We are not in a banana republic, and I think it should be curtailed. The law enforcement agents should know what to do. They should do the needful before it's too late. Anyway, it can never be too late because I know that they will do what they are supposed to do.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's get the thought of Ambassador Andre Ighaloa. I know that while the other guests were talking, you must have been thinking about a lot of issues. Why all of these in this country? The protesters wanting to scuttle the process of inauguration after election of a president-elect. And now the DSS is making a public statement that they are aware of a plot, you know. So what's your reaction to this before we continue to analyze other areas?
Well, there's an adage that I propounded that says that happy art thou that are enjoying and know that they are enjoying.
Okay.
Nigeria as a country, we don't know what we have until we experience certain things. There are challenges that we are experiencing now.
Okay.
Why don't we as Nigerians be patient and let the situation handle itself? What am I trying to say is like, election has come. All over, Nigeria is a big country. There's never, ever a time election will be conducted in this country and it will be fair and fair without discrepancies. I can assure you that. Considering the population of Nigeria and the level of intelligence and literacy of Nigerians, it can never be smooth. Fine, it has come and gone. And there are processes to claim your mandate if you say you won. Yeah. That is the court, which they are. The matter has not been brought before the court. The court did not make pronouncements in some group of persons that are selfish. And if you look at these people, the sponsor for these people, look at them very well. I don't think that children are in this country. The people that are sponsoring this thing now. And when you are calling for interim government, you think is the solution for Nigerians? No. Buhari might say, okay, they are agitating for interim government, which is illegal though. You might want to say, okay, let me give them what they want. You appoint somebody, someone to take over the affairs of Nigeria. I can assure you, within 1 month, that person will be ushered and disgraced out of the office by the military. And when the military comes, they bring their own timetable. And the military, they don't work with laws, they work with decrees. One thing I want to make Nigerians know, assuming the military now takes over from that interim government, and they come up with their decree and say, all the candidates that participated in this last election are banned as politicians from participating in politics. How would that one go well with the upcoming politicians? Not just the presidency alone, all politicians that took part in this last election. They cannot play politics again. They don't roll out a timetable for new politicians to come in, for new system to roll. How would they feel? They are just concentrating on presidency. You shouldn't do that. Let's look at it categorically now. The purported person that won now from that party, how many states do they have? About 15 states. The person that took second, the PDP, they have about 8 or 9 states as we speak. Then the one that is clamoring for, I'm supposed to be, you just have 1 state. And let me use this opportunity to enlighten Nigeria, how democracy works. It works with laws. And it's by, you make bills, you present a bill, and it is passed into law. And how do you do that? By majority. Now, APC, as a party, I think they have about 50-something or 60-something members of the Senate. PDP has quarter of it. Then Labour, they have about 6. In the House of Rep, they have about 36. In the whole of Nigeria, they have about 68 candidates. in the House of Assembly. Fine. In a country where one person that is the president, and you have one state that you are ruling, you think he will call all the governors for a meeting, they will answer him? Or in the Senate, a bill is presented that will favor, he presents a bill to the Senate, and you think they will pass that bill? Same applies to House of Rep. Nigeria should think outside the box. Nigeria is a big country, and those of us that are enlightening opportunities, most times if I have the opportunity of enlightening some persons, I keep telling them, election has come and gone. Whoever God says is going to be there, is going to be there. If it's Tinubu that is going to be there, let's pray for our president. You shouldn't doubt somebody or is given the opportunity to prove him or herself. Tinubu that they said has won. We are all Nigerians, let's pray for him to do the needful, to do the right thing. And even if he's not doing the right thing, 4 years is just around the corner. You can still come and vote him out. Fine. Before the election, I was here in one of your programs when you asked about the candidates and parties that are contesting. I told you I'm just seeing 2 candidates and 2 parties, which is APC and PDP. You said, what about Labour? I said, Labour will come in, they will only add color to the election. And that is what I just played at. Fine. Labour or Obi, they've changed the narrative that a popular candidate can make impact and all that. They've tried, but they should go back to the drawing board and still put the party together and still build it, let it, get stronger and prepare for the next election instead of causing chaos and trying to cause anarchy. And let me tell you, if you've experienced war before, it's not something we pray for. All over the world, even in America, the election that brought in Trump, there was discrepancies. Putin was fingered to one of those that rigged the election for Trump after the election. But nothing happened. That didn't make them to drop Trump. They still went ahead and practiced their democracy. So Nigeria should relax and let this be. Like Hill said, the DSS, they are just trying to be democratic. You smell rats. Then what are you waiting for? There is a plot. Before coming out with such a statement that there is a plot, that means you know them. They are suspects already.
They're supposed to have been arrested.
They should be arrested and tried. So I did act as deterrent. By the time you keep quiet and allow it to continue to sway, it will snowball into something else. And at the end, the consequences will be too hard for Nigerians.
Okay. Well, you are watching 60 Minutes Nigeria, our current affairs program. And of course, we are looking at the 2023 general election and the best way forward. My guests have been able to dissect some very disturbing issues that have cropped up, and it has to do with the call for an interim government and the call for the federal government not to go ahead with the inauguration ceremony of a new president. But from the assurances that we have gotten from the presidency, President Muhammadu Buhari will not spend a day longer in office. And that's what the presidency has said. And it has been reiterated that the president is willing to go. I think Nigerians ought to celebrate that, because we've heard of a previous president, from what even Professor Joe Bojo had earlier said, who attempted to enjoy a third term. So many Nigerians seem to forget easily. Now we have a President Muhammadu Buhari, who has assured Nigerians that he's willing to leave office at the expiration of his second term. So that's food for thought for all Nigerians. My guests are willing to look at the way forward. What's the best way forward? Do we continue to be retrogressive as a country? Or do we think of how to move forward? I think that's what we'll be discussing immediately after this break. Okay, it's always a delight to have you back on the program, 60 Minutes Nigeria, the best way forward for Nigeria. And we're going to get started again with Professor Joe Bodio. Now, the elections. We are just waiting for supplementary elections, and everything about the 2023 election would have been completed.
Yeah.
What is the way forward?
Thank you very much, Agosa. This is another very...
Because so many people are complaining.
It's a really,
you know?
I call it a hydra-headed question.
Yes.
Because the way forward we have profiled repeatedly here on your program, I'm sure in other fora. And,
yes.
I think the way forward is highly documented. It is just implementation, execution. That is the problem, the willpower. The willpower to do the needful, to do the right thing. It's endemic in us as a country. I think it's a human problem. Just the way we talk about traffic, people driving one way in Benin, people driving against the traffic and all that. You know, something that we are not willing to really do away with all these nuances of irregularities, malpractice. Our politicians just seem to enjoy, fraudulent means of electoral process. They just to enjoy it. That's the truth. With all due respect. Because you can't believe that after all the efforts made since 2008 by the Waste Panel made a groundbreaking recommendations, which has impacted the electoral of 2010 and the one we have of 2032. A lot of innovations were brought to bear, but it is implementation. Now, what is the hit about this election now? Even though we don't like the way the posturing going, but you see, there's a loophole created, there's a lacuna, we call it in law. You give room for people to doubt your integrity. You give room for people to question the process and the result. Why? Because the uploading and transmission, which was the high point, we discussed it here, which was the high point, which was the innovation of the Electoral Act 2022 and the INEC guideline, which was supposed to improve our electoral process, clear all doubt. Was not implemented by INEC. So they profile several reasons for doing that. Up to the internet challenge, the threat of hacking. They said the site was hacked. Apparently, they didn't even trust the political players, the parties themselves. So they won't go to the internet and juggle figures because for me, the way the anger about non-uploading. At times, I begin to wonder maybe people were already waiting on the server.
Yes.
Just wait for the figures. When they see 4, they just add 1 to it to become 14 million. Because I know that could have helped the process. But again, the hit is also the two sides of the extremes, really. But if INEC had uploaded real time as they promised, maybe the doubt will not be there. Maybe the suspicion will not be there. But maybe if INEC had also uploaded, because they know best. But for us who are neutrals, because I was supposed to work as an INEC adult, but I chickened out at the last minute because of the fear of the fraudulent process itself and violence and all that. But the two I know about the electoral process, I would have thought that if you uploaded as you promised, it would have cleared all the doubt, even though I know, and I said so in other fora when it involves legal arguments and that the failure to upload real time, because the issue is not that they didn't upload at all now. The promise to upload was to upload real time, simultaneously. That didn't quite happen. But we all know that they eventually uploaded it, and people are seeing it up there in the server or portal. So that itself is an improvement because as we speak now, when they are in the tribunal now, I expect that those who believe that they were rigged, or those who believe that the figures were manipulated, altered at the polling unit, because we start from the polling unit to the ROH ward level up to the highest level for presidential election, the Presidential Election Collation Center. If anybody had any evidence of vote manipulation, overvoting, irregularities, malpractice, it's not easy to garner, it's not easy to gather because you now have electronic evidence. You go up to that server, you see the results, you download it. It costs you some money, but election is not easy, it costs some money, download it. You have it before you get the certified true copy of the result, from EC8As to EC8E or whatever. You get those results, and you can now prove your case in tribunal. So it's easier now, well, in quotes, not really easy, really, but it is going to be a lot less difficult. I prefer to use that word, less difficult to prove allegations of irregularities or malpractice in the electoral process. That is one of the innovations we've had with the electoral, because the BVAS machine, which is an improvement, which the Act have made specific provision for. It's the fulcrum, is the foundation of our election today. So that if people are now applying for BVAS reports and to get the report, once that report, it cannot be altered. You saw it in Osun State, even if you try to manipulate to still play out. So it in Osun State. So once that result comes, if you bypass BVAS to accredit, you will be caught. If you try to change the figure of accredited voters in a polling unit, you will be caught. If you went to the collation center to change figures, it will not rhyme with what you have in the polling unit because from ECA, the foundation of the result is already in the system, it's in the cloud. So that is an innovation, but which is what we have been clamoring for, which is close to electronic voting. We are getting close to it, but just that we've not gotten there yet because we have our internet challenges, we have the human capital challenge, and then we have this distrust, mutual distrust amongst us. I'm sure it is the distrust that made INEC not to upload because they didn't trust the parties, not to hack. It's the same distrust that made the parties who expect to be up there not to trust INEC that because you didn't upload, you don't assume because you didn't upload, it means you did some manipulation. It's an assumption. Whereas you should have waited to see the results online, check what is online, compare with your own copy because don't forget the polling unit, they give you a copy, compare. If there's any discrepancy, you cannot cry uhuru. But because they were impatient, they didn't trust INEC. That's why even before the results were declared, finally they had gone to recruit our man Friday, the man who thinks he was Nigeria, with all due respect, to come on air, and he was one that brought this interim government thing back to the theme of our discussion earlier to cause this. So the way forward we have said is let's go electronic as a starting point. There are other ones I will add, but of course I can't say everything. Let my colleagues comment. Okay. But the electronic model, we are getting close to it. We'll do it gradually. We'll perfect it. It's step by step. We saw it with the electronic banking, the so-called cashless. We are saying we don't have the internet bandwidth or strength yet. I'm not even sure if our star one over the what we put on the satellite, if we have it, if it's working. Because for a country to go electronic, digital, you must have something on your satellite that you rely on. And we are not there yet, so it will be gradual. That's why I expected that those who partook in this election would have cried less and created more hits by INEC's delay in uploading. Okay. Because what is happened was that there was a delay, not refusal. So you need to crawl before you start.
Thank you very much, Professor Joe Bodjon. Very incisive, I must tell you.
Thank you very much.
Like I said, we must be looking at the way forward. Apart from the supplementary elections to be held, 2 states, Adamawa, Kebbi, will be having a governorship supplementary elections. Some other federal constituencies and all of that. Well, so many persons already have their certificate of return. Others will be having shortly or soonest. So, what's the best way forward? Omorogbe Awanfo has a lot to comment on this. We saw the bimodal, the BVAS. It's an electronic device, electronic machine that was introduced. Like Prof has said, yes, you could see even the footage. Yes, that's the BVAS used for accreditation and before voting. So it's doing from the card reader. You know, this is already supposedly an improvement on the previous elections. But so many Nigerians now are not faulting the BVAS, you know, because of their own allegations. So do you think we should continue with the BVAS? What's the way forward in your opinion?
Considering the introduction of the BVAS and previous elections, I think, like Prof has said, there is a kind of a step ahead compared to the ones we had. I think last election we were having this card reader stuff. Now it's not BVAS where you have to be accredited. And where I voted, actually, it was peaceful and the BVAS actually was functioning or functioned. I voted inside the S&T barracks. Everything went.
Oh, he said in S&T barracks,
yes.
And you said it was peaceful.
Peaceful
do you think they will not be peaceful in S&T barracks? The military will make them to. The military will force them to be peaceful.
Peaceful in the sense that there were no malfunctioning
of the BVAS.
And the way it was conducted, ballot papers came, it was counted, the one unused was counted, the one used was counted, everything went well, and the transmission from there was really, really perfect. I saw it clearly,
Okay.
it was really, really perfect. But however, like Prof has said, there's always room for improvement.
Okay.
We are still not there yet, but we are progressing. We are progressing. It's just that some set of people just feel because their candidate didn't win, the election was not credible. That mindset, I think Nigerians should go. They should stop having that kind of mindset. Okay. There's always tomorrow. I can on this issue of protest we mentioned. I just want to chip in something.
Yes.
The thought of it alone, the thought of halting the inauguration, the thought of suggesting an alternative government is treasonable. I can recall in the 60s, although I was not born then, I think they were doing this constitutional review. Okay. Then one time Lagos State Governor Lateef Jakonde suggested that there should be a succession clause in our constitution. He was jailed for that. He suggested, having the thought of it, that there should be a succession clause in our constitution. He was jailed for it. So having to start towing another line, towing another means to get power is unconstitutional, is illegal, it is forbidden. I think they should all calm down and let the process continue. Just yesterday, it was in the news that the Labour Party leadership had a meeting with all their elected officers.
Yeah, National Assembly
members
and senators
and all that.
Okay.
In fact, when I read it, I was a little bit encouraged. They are not planning on how to prepare for their this year off-season governorship. I think they have in Kogi and Bayelsa and one other state like that this year.
Bayelsa.
And so, and they even slashed their governorship nomination form from 25 million to 15 million to encourage people. Everything is a process. They've gotten one governor, 8 senators, 30-something House of Rep, 60-something members of House of Assembly. They've actually...
Which did not exist before.
Yeah.
Like I told some of my friends, I said, without missing words, Obi is the hero of this election. He's the hero of this election. He really tried. But they should just give peace a chance. They should not go and put their legs in troubled waters. They should not truncate this democracy, because most of them that are talking here and there now never knew how we got this democracy that we are talking about. People like our president-elect, even after that annulment of 1993 election, they were declared wanted, all of them. Sani Abacha dissolved all elected positions at that time, declared all of them wanted, himself, Asiwaju, John Oyegu, even Atiku and some other.
The Nadeco people.
That was how Nadeco was formed. Nadeco was formed as government in exile. And this set of people, they saw hell. Not to talk of we that were left behind. So the way forward, like Ambassador has said, we should pray for them. We should stop spreading the issue of the president-elect is sick, he cannot make 2 years. God is the one that gives life. Like I said yesterday in one of our gatherings, I said, they should mention among all of us that are seated here, who didn't take Panadol or didn't take any drug. Is there anybody that is well in this country? There's nobody that is well. We are all managing. So you cannot just say, because you see the man like that, he will not make 2 years. And like I always say, I'll be telling people, they will see Tinubu to make 4, if possible, 8 years. So God gives life, he gets life too. So it is not in our own jurisdiction to say this one will die earlier and things like that. Yeah. So we should at least support what we have now.
Thank you very much, Sam. I feel like that deserves a round of applause. But let's get the thought of Andre Igualua, the way forward.
Well, I would say the way forward is enlightenment.
Okay.
Of our people.
Who is to do the enlightenment now? Federal government or INEC? Do you have confidence in INEC?
Of course, let's listen.
Yes. No, quickly answer that.
Of course, 100%.
Good. So INEC can still enlighten the public on the way forward. So go on.
Let me tackle this issue from the medical line.
Okay.
If a drug, a particular drug is being prescribed by a doctor, they will tell you it's not 100%. They still leave 1% out of it that this thing might not work. Why? Because if you tell the person 100%, the person can sue you. Ah, you said I will take this drug, 100% it will work. Now it's not working. But they will still leave that 1%. On that 1%, lawyer, you know, you will hang on that. But I said 1% it might not work. That's why we often hear of the word warranty. You buy a brand new car today, they will tell you 5 years warranty. Why didn't they ask you to go? Because they know anything can happen within that 5 years. Same applies to the... It's unfortunate that the Beavers machine did not transmit the presidential election, which they are clamoring for, on that day, immediately. It's a machine. It can be faulty. Are you getting it?
Yes.
It's not 100%. It was just unfortunate that it happened like that. But in the governorship election, it didn't happen. In the absence of... Before the Beavers came in, we were using manual, investigating our president. It's an alternative. If the Beavers couldn't transmit at that particular time, there was an alternative. Maybe they would count manually, which I think they did. But if you are not satisfied, go to court. And another advice I want to give to Nigerians is like, especially the politicians. If you are playing politics, there are two types of politics you play, the street politics and politics of intellectualism.
Okay.
What do I mean? That's why I have the respect for the likes of Wike and our late father, Tony Anene.
Okay.
Wike is playing politics of intellectualism and street politics. He's very logical. When he's playing his politics, he applies laws to it.
He's a lawyer. Many people don't know that Wike is a lawyer.
Smart man and that. So they suspended about 88 leaders of PDP. They didn't suspend Wike because he was playing his politics within the ambit of the law. Watch what he says, watch what he does. And that is where so many politicians, they get it wrong. Because they only play the street politics. And they think the street politics can take them to where they want to be. It will take you to jail, or it will disgrace you out of politics prematurely. So the way forward is Nigerians we agitate too much. Like the local balance, our body too hot. We should calm down and always sit down to reason a particular thing before we act. We're always in a hurry to wait for solutions. We want instant solutions, which in a reasonable society doesn't give results. So they should calm down and wait for the outcome of the judgment of the court. All matters are in court. Some of them that are given a certificate of return, they will still collect it back from them. Because most elections are in court. Some people got there without the basic prerequisite and they won. Fine, they will give you first. Later, if your opponent is able to prove it that you were not qualified, they will still collect it from you. Like you see the issue of Osun now. Today they will swear in Adeleke. The next day they will swear in Oyetola.
No, they are not doing swearing. The lower court will give a verdict that Adeleke is no longer the governor. They are big on saying no, Adeleke is the governor. You know,
so that is politics for you.
Yes.
Which it's a game that is very interesting and dynamic.
Very interesting.
We shouldn't play it to take our lives or the lives of the dear ones that we have.
Yes. So many persons lost their lives during the conduct of the 2023 general election, and we must continue to remember Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, who said his political ambition is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. And I think that statement ought to be a guiding principle for all voters and for our political actors. Well, before we call it a day on the show, a quick one, Professor Joe Bodion.
Yes.
Now, do you think the G5 in the PDP affected Atiku? A quick one on that.
Okay, well, Well, let me just, before I address that issue, I will do as quickly as I can, because I wanted to add something to the way forward.
Okay.
So that that can move
Yeah,
on.
go ahead.
Go ahead. G5 now for me is history now, but I will address it as you rightly mentioned.
Okay.
I think beyond the electronic innovation I mentioned,
yes,
I think we must now sit down seriously and put pressure on this government when they eventually come on board to institute, establish, and consider the electoral offences court or tribunal. That is one of the high points of Way's recommendation. People are not being punished for their electoral crimes.
Okay.
Electoral crimes is committed by political parties, voters, and even the INEC officials themselves, both substantive and ad hoc staff. Of course, they are just reminded the security men and women. Because most of the irregularities we saw in elections, especially even the one we witnessed the governorship, because the presidential election was about electronic, but the real back to what I felt was shameful, which I never thought would happen again 20 years after. Because the last time we had bloody election, and it's bloody in quotes, was 2007. That's 16 years after the same our guy that brought the balance election is do or die. He brought it election is do or die. But the fact that people could the violence, people were shooting, snatching ballot papers, people were being suppressed from voting, there was still voter inducement, all those inanities that used to plague our elections some 16 years ago. We didn't witness it even during the era of President Goodluck Jonathan you just mentioned. So that we went back to that same madness, that even in Benin, boys were coming to snatch ballot papers, they were shooting. I think somebody was even killed in Benin during the election.
2 persons were killed at Ogege in Benin City. So
that all those thugs, political thuggery, arson, violence can still beset our electoral process in 2023 is mind-boggling. And so, without taking much of your time and my time of this program, it is now imperative, as we are going digital with the process, is to bring the Electoral Crimes Commission as well established, bring a special court, as we used to have tribunals then, we used to have fair bank tribunals, we used to have it's a special court that will be giving powers for summary trials. Lawyers what I mean, a speedy trial. So that after this election now, by September, we should be seeing people in jail. So that all those people, and then coming back to the G5.
Yeah, no, we're going to shift that one. But a quick one, because we don't have time again. A quick one, Alua. Did you think, in your opinion, G5 affected PDP? A quick one.
100%.
Okay.
Well, I don't see, with all due respect to Atiku and the PDP leaders, I don't see them as intelligent politicians. Because it was, I said it in this program, Atiku would have been the president of Nigeria today if they had handled that issue of G5 and the national president, Ayu.
National chairman,
Ayu. It was clearing. How can one person be fighting 5 governors,
thank you very much, Alua. Because of time, a quick one. Yes, I want for just a word.
Yeah. On what? Sorry.
Just your closing remark.
Okay. As a way of my closing remark, I will say that we should just be steadfast. We should support the government of the day, and we should still, by all means, be law-abiding.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to thank my guest for being a part of this week's edition. The discussion is so interesting. I want to talk about a lot of things, but we'll just we'll move some of the ideas to the next episode of the program or next edition. My name is Ego Sagmalao. Thanks for being a part. Bye-bye.